Welcoming everyone in. Is the audio okay, or do you want me to put on a mic today? It's good? Perfect. Just going to mute all of you. All right. It's funny because I'm processing all these downloads in real time right now. Settling into the space. Beginning by taking a few deep, slow inhales and exhales. As if you could breathe into the bottoms of your feet. Invoking the energies of the earth to rise and meet your feet. Grounding any excess energy in the nervous system. I'll do a little extra of this today. It's going to be a lot of energy. Really connecting to the core of the planet. Feeling like roots dropping down from the bottoms of your feet, the base of your spine, deep into the earth. Resting, relaxing, unwinding. All patterns of tension that are not you, that have never been you. Going to the feet, resting, relaxing, unwinding all patterns of tension in the feet. Into the ankles, resting, relaxing, unwinding. allowing any tension to come into your awareness. And exhaling any tension. Giving all tension in the body permission. We don't have to resist tension. We just have to give it permission, and we do this through our presence. Relaxing, unwinding all patterns of tension that are not you. All patterns of tension created by you in order to experience a distorted mirror in order to find yourself. This is what the ego is. Spaces in our bodies, in our field, where breath is not being distributed. Inhaling, taking a deep inhale, holding at the top. Sipping a little bit more air in, holding. Releasing. So allowing any patterns of tension in the gut, in the upper legs, in the pelvis to release, rest, relax, unwind. Slowing everything down. Fully connecting to source, whether that is perceived within you or above you or any place in which you connect to that. Part of integrating nirvana will be moving that connection to source within you. And it doesn't matter how distant or close that seems to be at this moment. It is exactly where it needs to be. for your specific structure of identity to collapse. Allowing this energy to fill every cell of your being with unconditional love and light. Creation itself as you. Trying to understand this dynamic in the mind will cause you to avert the process and delay it for integration later, or you go crazy. The third option is integrating nirvana. So we're just going to spend a little bit in very uncomfortable silence. And just recognizing that any aspect that arises is simply what you are noticing dissolve as contact with I am comes into the body. It's actually what meditation is about. Recognizing the resolution, the integration of I am process of subtraction. Giving every cell in your body permission to feel anything that's wrong. Give myself permission to feel my wrongness. I give myself permission to feel how I am bad. I give myself permission to feel how I am wrong. Allowing your soul's direct connection to work with your specific body matrix, pulling, releasing, resolving anywhere and everywhere where you have felt wrong, that something has gone wrong, that things that are wrong are happening. It's commanding and requesting that all ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, perceptions, identities, attachments, and overlays related or associated to wrongness are all pulled, released, cleansed, cleared, purified, resolved to completion. And replaced with I am. According to your soul's direct connection to this body and the beyond. Any and all places where you worry about what is wrong, perceived, received, or projected into reality or within yourself. It's commanding and requesting that all ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, and perceptions, identities, attachments, and overlays related or associated to worry, hold, released, resolved to completion, and replaced with I am. Replaced with I can. I can integrate this. I know what it feels like to integrate this. I know how to integrate this, when to integrate this, where to integrate this. I have sources, truth, definition, and value of integrating this, and that I can. It's working throughout your entire lymphatic system, anywhere and everywhere where you have said, I cannot. this is too hard, this is too difficult, any layers or levels of overwhelm held or contained in the lymphatic system, specifically in the spleen. It's pulling, releasing, resolving all waves, patterns, functions, and patterns of this, collapsing them to zero and replacing them with new waves, patterns, and functions of I am presence. Watching all lower identity selves, those that are purposefully incapable, allowing them to be returned to wholeness and integrated throughout your nervous system with grace, ease, and mercy to the physical and all things affecting the physical to the ethereal. And from wrongness and worry comes waiting. It's working through the neurobiology, anywhere and everywhere in your nervous system where you have been waiting to integrate your power, your pleasure, your presence. Just commanding and requesting that all ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, perceptions, identities, attachments, and overlays related or associated to waiting are all pulled, released, resolved to completion. And replaced with I am presence. And all your soul's direct connections to power that are required in order to enact, activate, and integrate your desires and wishes into being. Anywhere and everywhere where you are waiting to fully express yourself, to become yourself, to design yourself, anywhere where you are waiting on God to tell you what to do, where to go, who to be, how to be, what way to do things right, so that you don't have to worry or wait. Just commanding and requesting that all of these artificial aspects of spirituality, all understandings, beliefs, conclusions, perspectives, perceptions, identities, attachments, and overlays connected into spiritual ego, the identity self, the character playing out the spiritual person, just commanding and requesting that all layers and levels of this are relinquished from your neurobiology and the integration of I am throughout all aspects of being, physical to ethereal, known or unknown, discovered or undiscovered, as is appropriate and healthy for you at this time. Balancing the masculine and feminine aspects. Divine and human. Finding yourself in the center point. Working with the central channel, pulling, releasing, resolving any blocks, barriers, or hindrances to the free flow of your consciousness in the body. Letting your soul work with the root, clearing out any hindrances to feeling safe and grounded. I know what it feels like to be myself without playing myself. I know how to be myself without playing myself. I know that it's possible to be myself without playing myself. I have sources, truth, definition, and value of being myself without playing myself from the highest perspective. Just allowing all identity structures related to playing out who you are, anything layered over who you are that's incongruent and incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming. I know what it feels like to be myself without worrying if it's the right version of me. I know that it's possible to be myself without worrying if it's the right version of me. I know how to live my life being myself without worrying about myself. I know that it's possible to be myself without worrying about myself. I have sources, truth, definition, and value of being myself without worrying about myself from the highest perspective. I know how to be myself now. I know what it feels like to be myself now. I have sources, truth, definition, and value of being myself now from the highest perspective. Anywhere and everywhere where you're waiting to be yourself. Collapsing all waves, patterns, particles, and functions of consensus reality, whether you know what consensus reality is or not. It's pulling, releasing, resolving this from your nervous system, and integrating your I am presence in the highest, best, and healthiest way for you at this time. Thank you, show me. Opening up the lung meridians, releasing any grief, sorrow, sadness from any of these identity structures that are no longer relevant or appropriate for your journey ahead. So allowing all dead data in the body, known or unknown, discovered or undiscovered, to be purged, released, resolved, returned to the light, and replaced with your I am presence. Letting that fully integrate across all layers and levels, physical to ethereal. It's working with the solar plexus anywhere and everywhere where you're trying to control, manipulate, or perform in order to integrate your highest self. Just commanding and requesting that all layers and levels of this are pulled, released, resolved, and replaced with yourself, exactly as you are. I know what it feels like to celebrate myself now. I know how to celebrate myself now. I know when to celebrate myself now. I have sources, truth, definition, and value of celebrating myself now. I know what it feels like to celebrate myself now, regardless of what it is. I know how to celebrate myself now, regardless of how I am. I know that it's possible to celebrate myself regardless of how I am. I have sources, truth, definition, and value of celebrating myself regardless of how I am. I know what it feels like to feel confident. I am confident. I have sources, truth, definition, and value of confidence from the highest perspective. I know how to live my daily life with confidence. Just fully integrating confidence into your field across all layers and levels, physical to ethereal, just commanding and requesting that your soul's direct connection pull, release, resolve anywhere and everywhere across all layers and levels of being, anything that is incongruent and incompatible to your highest confidence. Feeling that break all the way down the lower three centers, opening up space. All this worry about being the correct version of yourself in order to win the spiritual game show called life. Baby, you won it the moment you came. Pulling, releasing, resolving from the gut, the womb space, the hara, anything that is incongruent and incompatible to these integrations now. Thank you, show me. Oh. A lot of dead energies at the back of the spine, the lower lumbar, releasing, resolving these to completion. Teaching your body what it feels like to live without these burdens, that it's possible to live without these burdens, that you know what it feels like to be supported, how to be supported, that you are supported. It's watching all that come before you, all your ancestors, pulling, releasing, resolving anything from your field that is not you, that has never been you, has nothing to do with you, that's no longer relevant or appropriate for your journey ahead. And teaching these ancestors how to be resolved of this to completion now. Thank you, show me. Working under the rib cage, any attachments between the diaphragm and the energy or frequency of grief. It's releasing all old identities or attachments that are not you, have never been you. Anywhere and everywhere where you've attached to forms, ideas, circumstances, people, anything separate from yourself. It's commanding and requesting that your soul's direct connection work with absorbing fully and completely all values and virtues of all of these attachments, downloading, integrating, receiving, perceiving, fully expressing throughout all layers and levels of being, perfectly integrated throughout all bodies, all the values and virtues of all relationships. And releasing all of these cords and attachments now on the other side of fully receiving their value. Thank you, Shomi. Working with all descendants, remembering that time is an illusion, pulling, releasing, resolving yourself of any movement towards the future that's incongruent or incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming, allowing your soul and all aspects of your consciousness within form, physical to ethereal, to reorient in the highest, best, and healthiest way for you at this time. Leaning all the way back into your central channel, any and all distortions, leaning forward or pulling away all avoidant and all anxious attachments, balancing and harmonizing them through the value and virtue of understanding the nature of these attachments. To simply bring you into balance of a higher nature by continually pulling you out of perceived balance. Egoic balance is perceived balance. The ego on the spiritual journey will attempt to do anything to maintain balance, but that balance is perceived balance, trying to feel okay as opposed to not feeling okay. Ego. Allowing yourself to be fully taken by the full spectrum of your experience. I am. Bringing into your memory right now the worst thing that has ever happened to you. Just allowing that sensation to fill your experience. This is the worst thing that ever happened to you. What the fuck do you have to be afraid of? I've watched my body die and be reborn. What the fuck do I have to be afraid of? I've been raped and abused. What the fuck do I have to be afraid of? The anatomy of kink isn't a process, it's your presence. And all that's required is for you to be present to everything, to your totality. And there is only one distortion in all of reality, only one conflict. It in itself is artificial, but this artificiality is not a mistake. It is on purpose in order to create the experience of separation, in order for you to integrate I am, which is nirvana. Nirvana is exactly where you are, provided you don't object to it. And you won't be able to surpass each initiation until you no longer object to it. Fully accepting the coordinates of where you are. If you cannot accept where you are, you have no motor to move forward. The only conflict in all of existence, something is wrong. Just allowing anything that you've done to others that you regret, bringing that into focus. What do you regret? Letting that energy of regret fully fill your being. And maybe you can't access your regret because you're too focused on not feeling it so that you don't have to regret it. Regret is a battle with time, just as much as worry is a battle with time. But regret is a mistranslation of what's actually happening. Your ability to regret anything shows you that you've already changed, that you are already different. And from this difference, you have perspective enough to notice what could have been different. It is the remorse that accepts the coordinates of what is now different based on whatever choice you made. And within that trial and error, you have now greater wisdom, knowledge, abilities, and talents and gifts, so long as you're able to meet that part of you in totality. And the easiest way to do that is to recognize that regret is just not receiving the value of how you're already better. And not better than something that was less than, but better in the sense that through our experiences of trial and error in these individual bodies, I am is expanding. I am is growing. I am is learning. There is no end to this game. There are infinite explorations of ways to be. And provided you don't object to them, you'll be able to open your heart wider to every experience and receive the power, the pleasure, and the presence of every aspect that comes into play. If you noticed in the meditation, I was taking us through 3 different distortions. The primary one and 2 ones that follow. So wrongness, and then out of wrongness, worry. And then from worry, you further fragment into waiting. Waiting so that you don't have to worry. Worrying so that you can be a little bit away from wrongness. 11:11. You're not wrong, you just don't prefer the way things are. And that preference is what is being integrated, being absorbed into I am. If you were to do that meditation every single day, just sitting there, and you'll notice everything start to come up between these 3 distortions: waiting, worrying, and wrongness. First, you'll sit there and you're like, okay, waiting, waiting, waiting. When is he going to talk? When is he going to talk? When is it going to get to the good stuff? All of the frequency patterns that are located in your physical form, that as you sit through it, are being purged out of your field. And it's not like there's something in you that you need to get rid of. It's as I sit and allow who I am to enter physical form, it presses out of the cells of my being all that is not congruent or compatible to who I am. Your body is encoded through your childhood, through your relationships, your soul family, karmic partners, soulmates, all of these things, they're all reflecting to you the exact things that you need to be present with in order for all oscillations of up and down, good and bad, to collapse into pure presence, total non-attachment, which is not detached, not dissociated, but not attached. If you were in the collapse of understanding, you'll remember the 3 points: positive, negative, neutral. But neutrality is how we collapse understanding. Understanding is going to be this or that. When your consciousness starts to come into the body, there's the 3rd option. In fact, there's always a 3rd option, but it's really hard for most people to get there, right? Because we don't have this concept. We're moving from a binary system to a quantum system. The quantum system is already online. The binary system is just catching up. So binary, this or that, quantum, more options. And the more quantum it gets, the more options there are. But the point is whatever you need to notice in order to neutralize, go there. If you're noticing the positive aspects of yourself and the negative aspects of yourself, come into the neutrality. if you're only aware of kind of neutral or meh versions of yourself and positive, maybe look at the negative. What things are you avoiding that you need to pull into totality? Or if your ego structure is kind of neutral and negative, maybe start celebrating yourself. That's the positive. So all of these pieces create an engine of how to organize each moment. And it's not something that you need to do, it's just an awareness. Spirituality isn't designed to be something that is your primary focus in life. It's a way of organizing so that I am can do what it wants to do here in this plane where this doesn't exist anywhere else. So if you're not functioning and creating things in this realm of life, you're living in a fantasy, in an idea of you. You're not even being you. You're living in an idea of you. And all of those ideas and identities of you will begin to collapse, especially this cycle. The collapse of identity is here. That frequency is 100% available. That means pure presence. All you have to do, come back to presence. What am I not being present with? What am I avoiding? What am I denying? And it's not about nitpicking yourself. It's actually about celebrating yourself first. And that is what the anatomy of kink is in its functionality. First, you come into the presence of the anatomy of kink. The way this whole class started was my friend Adam was like, "Oh, Barrett, you just have a kink for everything." And I was like, and I got this immediate download of this entire class. Holy shit, yeah, I do. I have a kink for everything. And that is how I have survived my life. Because my life, in many, many ways, has been ridiculously blessed and a fucking living hell. Because this is the lifetime that I chose to select all, come into my totality, to be present with all aspects of reality and collapse it through my heart and integrate that into my gut. And everything that I offer is everything that I have survived. The energetic frequencies of everything that has been resolved within me is delivered through my voice. And we all do that for each other, but you are not delivering those codes to others if you are not actually in presence and integrating and resolving things. And all that's required is for you to feel good about yourself. And that's why the first thing is there is nothing wrong. That's the first assumption we must make, no matter what experience you've had in your whole life, or anything that you remember in past lives, or anything you remember outside of this galaxy. There is nothing wrong. The illusory creation of wrongness is designed for you to integrate separation and come into I am. I am did not make any mistakes. The whole creation of separation is designed for us to experience what it would be like if that were so. There's nothing wrong. It may be hard, however, to begin with nothing is wrong. And this is a little bit going into the next iteration of the Anatomy of Awakening, which is going to become the absolute foundation of everything that I'm sharing. Because the Anatomy of Awakening is the three centers: your gut, your heart, and your mind. They're perception centers. It's how we perceive reality. Your gut is your presence, your heart, and your mind. Pleasure. Your heart is how you create the pleasure in your life. Your mind is where you can integrate power, pleasure, and presence. But do you see how it's working? Wrongness. Wrongness is a rejection of presence. Immediately. You're already rejecting reality by saying something is wrong. I'm not going to be present to that. It's wrong. Or I'm only going to be present to it in hierarchy. I'm only going to be present to it as something less than. And just because the things around you don't yet see themselves as I am, as that, doesn't mean that they are not. But that is the trick of this game, is to witness things before the integration. That is how you are creating. You are creating this way and out. If you are looking out and letting it come in, inverted reality. Inverted reality. Not real. Looks real, is real in that sense, but reality is you pressing into the world around you truth, which isn't one thing or another, it's who you are. But if you're basing your entire reality on responding to the things outside of you as if the noises they make and all the things that they do are real, you are not integrating your power. And you're not integrating your power because power is this center. And you're either playing victim or victimizer, victimizing others, letting yourself become a victim. Your heart, the beauty of the heart is the creation, the offering, the altar of your pleasure. But your heart gets distorted through the hero and the rebel. And why do these two archetypes exist? Because they're trying to account for wrongness. And it's not that you can't utilize the archetypes of the rebel and the hero. It's just that if you identify with being the hero or the rebel, you're not integrated. Presence can use all aspects of reality in the correct order. The inverted self is outwards to inwards, and you're gonna see reality through the mind, through the duality of victims and victimizers. You're gonna feel so much pain and suffering in your heart, trying to be the hero or rebel against things. That's where like the social justice field works in the world, is the heart, right? It's all playing out because consciousness is integrating, but we have to keep going. Presence. Presence is that which maintains constancy across every transition. You, I am, is the only thing that remains throughout this entire journey. Everything else will come and go, especially the things that you don't want to go, because that's just a setup for you to be liberated from your attachment to form, as if there's anything else other than you here. This is one of my favorite things about the dating world, because for years I'm a pattern noticer. It's like, that's what consciousness is, right? Consciousness is pattern recognition, recognizing the patterns that are playing out. So I would date someone and I'd be like, great, good, okay, but no. Then, spend some time single. Next iteration would come. And I'm like, okay, this is better. Like, it just keeps getting better. So I'm noticing a pattern, right? It's getting better, but it is getting better because I am getting better, and I am. There is nothing else here. So as I integrate into my integrity within my own being, everything else must follow suit. So look at the inversion is, oh, look at all these dumb forms. They're not functioning in the highest capacity. Oh, if there's only I am, I wonder who isn't functioning at their highest capacity. Not getting too stuck in looking at that and feeling bad, but just an awareness. That is the radical responsibility for reality. You're not responsible for how others behave and act around you, but you are responsible for taking any information that you see that feels off, fully integrating it, and then expressing from a place of deep love and presence. Most of the time, the further and further you get on into this journey, you're just going to be listening more and more. And you'll begin to see that others are just playing in these 3 different categories: waiting, worrying, and feeling wrong. And I've simplified this entire journey as I'm still designing the anatomy of awakening again to just one focus: value and virtue, because presence is that which only perceives and receives value. And it goes beyond presence into paradise, or the yog state, yoga, yog, to be unified. Paradise is that which only provides value. All of this is already paradise. If you're not perceiving heaven, you're not offering it. You have to offer value. You have to see value. If practice with others first, don't yourself. It doesn't matter whether it's you or someone else, all these different ways in which we need to integrate consciousness. Just begin perceiving value. The easiest way to break through the ego structure in your own self is to begin seeing the value of others' experiences. Just start looking, like, people tell you their problems, like, oh, like, just question, like, I wonder what the value of that is. And you'll start getting downloads, and it will be easier to get downloads for other people because it's not going to break your ego as much, but it will start to train that channel of seeing value, and then it will start to break through your consciousness as well. and break down this rigidity in perceiving things as victims and victimizers. So getting a little into the energy of next week with fuck spirituality, begin life. But the whole, all of the things that you see in the spiritual community, whatever that means, the a lot of that information can be easily organized and understood to not actually be helping you in many, many ways. Because notice, and just notice anything, and notice if it adds or subtracts time from your journey. Because if it's adding time to your journey, it's a process. And that process will lead you from A to B, and it will give you an experience of growth. But do you want to experience growth, or do you want to grow? And you're not going to grow this way, you're going to grow this way. You're going to grow from inner to outer, and your growth will begin to be reflected. You'll start changing either the people in your reality will change, or like internally, or like they'll change, meaning like leave your field. And your tolerance of things, basically your tolerance of change is what allows you to continue this journey and see it all the way through. And by see it all the way through, I don't mean that there's an endpoint. I mean to see it all through. I am. All of it's you. Everything is perfectly designed for you to open up wider, more beautifully, to learn how to celebrate yourself. You only do things that you don't like so that you know how to have compassion for yourself. I remember, like, since it's the anatomy of kink, this moment when I was like processing my journey. My more recent years in life have been like pretty celibate, but back in the day I was a little slut, you know? And I remember coming out of that consciousness and being like, oh my God, like I cannot believe like all the things that I did. And just like I had this moment of realization. I was like, oh, I only did that to like totally accept myself no matter what, you know? So whatever it is, you're just doing it to fully come into acceptance of self, of all of your totality. And my whole lifetime, I've consciously made those choices. I don't do it as much anymore because I don't need to like prove anything to myself in that way. But you're going to purposefully make choices in order to just show yourself that everything is okay, because I am. There's nothing wrong with any choice that you want to make. There's nothing for you to worry about. But why test those things out and wait to find out when you can just receive it now? And that's where we begin to work with the mind, the perception center of the high mind. Power, integrating power. And the only way you can integrate power is no longer weight. So, command center connected through here. Speak and so it is. telling my friend who's on here right now the other day, I was like, I want more Akashic access. Like, I'm like, I want like the all access pass. I already have like high clearance or whatever you want to say, but like, I want all of it. And then I start going through some upgrades and I'm like, oh shit, like this is a lot of information to take in and it's uncomfortable. But if you're willing to face your totality, you can commit. If you've been in interior design, I'm like, be careful what you say, because literally you can create reality in that way. But most people aren't noticing the fact that when they command something to create it, all of the things that are required in order for that to be done. I wanted better relationships in my life. You can go to my Instagram and read the little prayer on that. It's really powerful prayer, and I was a little bit scared to even write it out. Anything that is incongruent in me to that which I choose to be an energetic match, destroy. When you're not afraid to come into your biggest dreams and desires, you're willing to face whatever is required. If all of my friends have to disappear overnight in order for me to come into the fullness of my prayer, whatever that is, I'll be okay. Only Nirvana can do that. And the parts of you that don't feel aligned into that just feel like they're doing something wrong, worried about what they're not doing right, and waiting to figure it out. But you don't have to organize all of that. Come back to again and again and again and again. I am everything. Even if you don't believe it yet, just I am everything. I used to literally, I am that I am, I am that I am. And I would do this for hours, for days on end, to just get that into my consciousness. And then you start having experiences. You say, speak, and so it is. And all the things, when you make a command like that, all the things that are in the way of the integration of that are exactly what's going to show up. You want to be healthy? All the things, all the patterns that are showing up that are not your highest health are going to show up. But you have to not believe the things that are coming up as if they are you. You're speaking, praying, intending, whatever you want to call it, creating in that way. And then all the things that are incongruent to that are going to rise because you're commanding into reality. So anything in reality that's not in resonance is going to come up. Do you see how this is working? And your only thing is to just continue going into I am. I am. And all of these things that are arising that are obviously the exact patterns which need to evaporate in order for me to integrate my prayer are here. And I don't need to go into the identity of all of these things that are happening. Like, oh, you start feeling bad about yourself, right? You command confidence, you start feeling bad about yourself. Why are you feeling bad about yourself? Because those are the patterns opposite of confidence. So of course they're going to rise to the surface, and all you have to do is look at them. Be present to them. What is the value and virtue of me saying bad things about myself? This is literally from my own life, looking in the mirror day in and day out after my dad would abuse me, and I would look in the mirror and say worse things about myself just to be in control of the pain that I was feeling. That's power. No one was going to overpower me. Are you kidding me? Taking that in, whatever your experience is, and understanding the power that it's giving you. The value and the virtue. What is the value and virtue of speaking bad things to myself? It was recognizing that I had the power to believe whatever I wanted to believe about myself. And then I started looking in the mirror and saying the most incredibly beautiful things about myself until I cried, until joy started erupting inside of my being. And all that's required for your integration of greatness is consistency in doing something like that. If you just wrote, I mean, you should have seen my room back in the day when I was in San Francisco and I was deep in this kind of stuff. My whole room was like sticky notes, like I am that I am, like, you know, all the things, right? To just remind myself constantly. That's what a ceremony is. Ceremony, when you break it down, means to remind the mind. When your life is a ceremony, when you design your life to be a constant, consistent reminder, it will help you. But the deepest ceremony is almost relieving yourself of the ceremony, recognizing that everything is the ceremony, whether you're actively, consciously doing it or letting it happen to you. All of the experiences that I've had, being raped, one of the most powerful ceremonies I've ever been in. Best ayahuasca trip I ever did. Waking up to someone fucking me, realizing in that moment, I cannot believe how much pain someone must be in order to do this to someone else. Me integrating the value and virtue. That's literally the next day I woke up after being raped and I was like, that was the best thing that's ever happened to me and I don't know why. And it was literally I am speaking through me. And I took that and I worked with it for like years. And my mantra was, thank you for raping me, for many years. I was like, thank you for showing me who I am. My first response was compassion. And even if it wasn't, but it was. So thank you for showing me who I am. And there comes a point in your journey where when you alchemize all of these things through the collapse of understanding by neutralizing them, which isn't to become neutral, but to honor the three parts. Then you'll be grateful for the sickest things that have happened in your experience. Thank you for torturing me, for tormenting me. Nothing is here to hurt or harm you, just help and hone you. And it's all a process of releasing the inversion. We need to perceive from presence first rather than the mind first. From I am, I can, to I wish. Most of us are living from I wish in the fantasy and then trying to bring it down, but that doesn't work. You have to start with I am, understand that I can, and then from a place of I am all of this, I can do something. Now Now you can refine it. So the mind is the refining place of power. You start, oh, look, I can do this a little bit better, you know? That's like, I had no idea what I was telling my friend. Like before class, I'm like, what I was joking. Like 30 minutes before this class, I was like, what do you think I should teach on today? I I know the energy, but like I'm just here being present. Then from presence, I'm organizing it with I can. I can show up to whatever is here because I can be present with it. And then I'm using my mind to notice all the things that are happening in my heart and my gut to organize. Oh, look, fine tune that, turn this, turn that. And that's how we begin. That's how we like create our lives in really powerful and beautiful ways. And it all literally, all of it, the entire thing, all that you need to focus on is value and virtue. What are the things in your experience that you can't perceive value in? Begin organizing those things, receiving whatever you can from the perspective of I am. If I am everything, what is this teaching me? What is this showing me? If I'm feeling powerless, obviously I'm not using my power. If I'm not having fun, I'm not creating it. Everything is a perfect reflection of where you are in your experience. And just starting small, but no matter how much or little you receive, always give more. You have to try these things out. You can't just hear it and not do something with it. You have to apply, see what happens, experiment, trial and error. It's like the thing that you're scared of, like do that, you know? Like I remember telling my therapist, yeah, my mantra is thank you for raping me. And she's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And to me, when she said that, was like, it's definitely what I'm doing. She's like, I think you need to trial and success. Yes, love that. Taking a couple of moments to integrate everything. Let yourself be turned on by life. What are the qualities that turn you on? For me, it's always been power. Did a personality test at a corporate job years ago, and my district manager was like, I've never met anyone with 94% red as their personality. Red was all about power. I'm like, that makes sense. Because power is just ability to move and to create. And we all of us, right? If I am like literally just like get into a weird trance mode for me right now. Like I am is the only thing that exists. Any qualities that I am expressing, I am. There is no distance or separation, and anything that is perceived to be that is just what is leaving as I am is reflecting that to you. I am fucking powerful because of a willingness to receive value from anything. And that is my commitment. And I want to take all of this and integrate Nirvana because we are right now collapsing. The union codes of consciousness are fully available. Masculine and feminine, divine and human, integrating all of these parts. I spent the last week basically crying over a boy, okay? Like, I still have a human experience. But the entire time, I was just witnessing the power that was being absorbed into me. And that was my organizing force of looking and understanding what value is this providing me? That is the way to organize life through value and virtue. This asshole cutting me off at the market, is teaching me how to open myself wider, my heart wider. Feeling rejected or abandoned, such a turn on. You're gonna reject me? I'm gonna go as deep into those wounds and taste and feel every scary part and fully receive the value of it. Did you get diagnosed with something? Remember, if you've been in interior design, diagnosis, to move through the spiritual mysteries. Cool. I'll take that on. I'll move it through me. I won't, but I am will. I am the only thing that maintains constancy across every transition. Many, many, many parts of you will come undone. And that is why remembering I am and returning to it and returning to it and returning to it is what will allow you to stay sane. And you will experience insanity as sanity comes into your field in the body. So the moments when people are having psychotic episodes, it's actually sanity coming in and releasing the psychosis. But people get caught in the inversion, thinking that the thing that's coming up is what's happening. What's coming up is what's leaving. And I don't like to divide positive and negative emotions. They're all just sensation. But from that mind perspective, all negative emotions are the sensation of what's leaving. All positive emotions are an activation that's happening in your body. And actually, it doesn't even matter what happens emotionally. It's just the most efficient path. Whatever is required in order to move you to the next stage of integration of I am is what will happen. So whatever happens, make it a kink. Being rejected, I have a rejection kink. I love being rejected. Obviously, I am loves to be rejected because it produces more power. It produces more integration. It produces more embodiment. Nirvana is the dissolution of all preferences except for what is. All you have to do is accept that. That's it. And you don't even need to accept it because the part of you that's trying to accept it is what's getting integrated. Just fully hold on, commit to everything. And when life rips it away, experience it as you will. Most of us aren't living our lives. Most of us aren't beginning our lives. Because we're trying to get those three things right. We're waiting so that we don't have to worry about getting it wrong. So basic. If you were to relieve yourself of any other process or modality and let everything be filtered through there is nothing wrong, I am, game over. Easy to organize everything. You just, you don't self-deprecate. You don't self-devalue. You're really good at devaluing yourself. You're excellent at speaking bad about yourself. Just recognize how good you are at the things you don't want to be good at. And start celebrating yourself, start praising yourself. What I noticed in all the Christian communities that I grew up in a missionary household, was this worship of God. And I never, at the time, I didn't understand because my experience was like, God is everything. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, like, I'm going to worship myself in the same way. Like, I'm going to worship that any of this exists, that any of this exists is a miracle. And it like breaks through more and more all the time. It's just like, oh my God, like the fact that any of this is happening is ridiculous. But you can't see it because you're too busy waiting to avoid worrying, to avoid experiencing how wrong you think anything is on any level. Integrating perfection is one of the hardest things that you will ever do. And it is a lifelong journey because the realizations, the things that you will need to be present to in your totality is forever. But you don't need to wait in order to integrate nirvana. All you have to do is remember, I am. I am that. That I am. Let that open your heart. Let the love pour out of you. Let your love blossom into all the things that you create. And just start with your day. Don't make it any more complicated than that. The simplicity, the ecstasy, and the bliss that nirvana is exists only right now. And if you're waiting and worrying and thinking that what's happening right now is wrong, I'm not going to experience it. It's already here, fully available. Why are you waiting? Why are you worrying? What do you think is wrong? Face it and complete it. And the way that you do that will be recognizing value and virtue, and that it is you. Sitting on a rooftop in San Francisco in like 2012, having this sudden vision of my dad abusing me, like replaying that image, except this time in the image, the light that was moving through him abusing me was me. And I was like, holy shit. I am abusing myself in order to carve out the character that is designed to shine through on the other side of that integration of that trauma. What can overpower me? I wasn't being overpowered. I was being shown the power that I am. And if I meet that moment or remember those moments of power that were used against me and use my power to alchemize it, what the fuck am I afraid of? Look at everything that you've already surpassed. What are you afraid of? Self-recognition, recognizing yourself for all that you've already completed. It's all here for you to receive values and virtues of what you are. Anything else is a distraction. Any of these other games and things of where we think we're going or what we're doing, if they're not based right now, they are fantasies. And that doesn't make the fantasy wrong. It means make it real. Be it now. And part of this is still in my integration right now. There are things that I'm realizing, I'm like, oh my God, I'm totally in the fantasy of this. I'm not even in the creation of it. All of my dreams and desires must become real. There is no other way. And I'm not going to wait. And I'm not going to worry if it's the right thing to do. I'm going to fucking do it. And it starts with the day. So take everything that you want to do in your life, your dreams, your desires, whatever it is, really sit with yourself and get clear on that. Downloading like Virgo stuff right now. Take all of the things that are required. What daily practices on the most micro level are required in order to create that in a long term? If you want to be crazy fit, like one push-up a day, like just start there, right? Like whatever it is, just begin the consistency of doing those things. This is like me and my creation of like what I envision for myself. Creating content as often as possible. In keeping that inspirational flow. Because that's what brings me so much joy. I love creating in this way. I love expressing what is. I love the poetry, the music of it. But there are other things that have nothing to do with consciousness that I also want to explore and express and be and do. So those are the things that I need to work on in my own experience to integrate my nirvana. Not the Neptunian version of fantasy and delusion, but bringing that Neptunian energy into lived nirvana here on this plane. Collapsing all planes into visible reality to explore and experience the physicality of what we know and see to be, but bringing it here. To be bound by buoyancy, to be buoyant, to levitate, to just be light, to be fully here, but fully light, just bouncing on the waves of what life brings you and interacting with it equally. Letting every inconvenience that comes your way scrape away any resistance to being in the moment. Because what is an inconvenience other than something around waiting, worrying, or wrongness that's being activated? Oh, just another layer of my freedom and liberation that is being brought to this moment for the exploration of all that I am. What the fuck do you have to be afraid of? You have been through it all. We collectively have been through it all. How much crazier does life have to get before you start recognizing yourself for what you have been through? Release the old coordinates of where you were, who you were, what you were, whatever. It's gone. Accept where you are now so that you can have a motor to move yourself within this new atmosphere and environment. I give myself permission to receive the value and virtue of this. Things are going to get fucking messy. But you know what mess and chaos is? It is the quantum field being integrated beyond what the mind's capacity is to understand. So when you're confused, you're quantum leaping. Relax into it. There's nothing wrong. That literally, this is how I'm so fucking psychic. It's crazy. And people think it's like a magic trick. I'm like, there's nothing wrong. What's the value? Got it. Perfect. Like, that's literally all you have to do. And if you just recognize again and again and again that everything is you, what would be the purpose of you interacting with this experience? In this moment, what's the value of this experience? A reminder of what is, that you are, that I am. There is only one field of energy. I am. And that animates everything. The forms will always change. What animates them, always the same. I am that, which maintains constancy across every transition. That's how I've been able to experience my life and hold a grounding. This is all I have to be present to now. Moving on to the next thing, moving on to the next thing, to the point where the amount of data that I am moving through in a felt experience on a daily basis, like if you would have asked me to do that like a year ago, it would have fried all of my circuits. Same thing for you. All of the data that is moving through your field right now, a year ago would have fried you. Maybe you're still feeling fried. That's okay. You're being pressed open into wider and wider capacities of letting that move through you. You're just going to have to withstand. I am. This is the lifetime that you chose to come face to face with your totality. A lot of souls right now are going to be coming into contact with their mirror self, which means that your soul will see the entire universe in someone else. And it will begin to break down your ego structure in a way that you won't even understand, and it will be insane. But we are all doing that for each other as soul family. We are already breaking that down. But in the design of how we incarnate, there are these specific frequencies that are not, we're all similar here. Very similar frequencies, even if you think yourself and myself are extremely far apart as far as like not getting it or whatever. It's all fucking ego bullshit. We're very similar in frequency, which is why we're gathering together, because we're sharing these codes and reflecting, and we're just kind of moving. But there are certain souls that are literally the identical self. And when you see them in person, it activates a level of awakening that is really uncomfortable. We are moving into like 2024 is going to be a really interesting year, and it's so important to begin integrating your organization and compassion. Coherence and compassion. The fern of the year is coherence. Pohala Hawaiian Botanicals. Highly recommend getting the gift set for 2024. Anything that is disorganized, which is the only disorganization in all of existence, something is wrong. Everything is perfect. Start there. How is this perfect? How is this perfectly helping me in this moment? Takes radical trust. Radical trust. I have watched my body, organ by organ, die. That is not an exaggeration. And I've watched organ by organ come back online, being resurrected within the body. We are all doing that on some level. It doesn't need to be that extreme. But the role, whatever that is that I'm playing, is on purpose. And I've known this my entire life. None of my experiences are about me, because I am. My experiences are designed to integrate energetic codes that, as I'm speaking, deliver that to you and begin opening that process on deeper levels. Nothing about me is about me, because I am. My ego is in service to I am. That's all that there can be. Even if it feels like your ego is in the way, still serving I am. There is nothing other than I am. Even the ego is a celebration of an experience that could not be without I am. And that is why my friend said that I have a kink for everything. Because no matter what I'm facing, it's just, okay, yeah. You want to destroy me? You know, it's like, okay, let's find out. But then there gets a point where you don't need to find out, you just know. And that's when your soul signature begins to come out and bloom, and the fragrance of who you are is coming out, because the inversions have been corrected. You are correcting those inversions right now. Everything is being amplified for you to witness waiting, worrying, and wrongness. I love you. And this is the really important piece because in order to integrate nirvana, to even express the level of power that has come through me today, can be easily perceived as by the receiver as a diminishment of self, like, oh, there's something wrong with me, I'm not that, right? Which is literally you're hearing the ego as it's dissolving. Or arrogance, or you're the one producing the power. Oh my God, am I being arrogant? Am I like, what? Oh my God, can I claim that? All the sounds of the ego as it's evaporating. Arrogance is only when you perceive something of yourself that you are not able or willing to see in another. All of the power, the beauty, the sexiness, the creativity, the joy, the bliss, the sexuality, the all that I am, that I celebrate and love, equally celebrate it about you. And I will pull you into those qualities if you are not expressing them. I will amplify and refine those with you because we are interacting together. That is what we are here to do, to refine each other in the reflections that we are. There is nothing that I am that you are not. There is nothing that you are that I am not. I am. And I love you completely, totally, absolutely. So we have waiting, worrying, and wrongness. And the only thing that you need to correct it, willingness. I am willing. I am willing. Notice the two essences of what that is. I am willing. I am willing. One is receiving, one is giving. And in the interplay of willingness and willing is the creational power of all of existence. And it's as simple as that. So begin having a kink for everything. Let everything turn you on. If you feel powerless, that is just powerlessness leaving your field. Show me how to integrate this power. I don't know how to do it, but I am does. Caralho. Means fuck in Portuguese. Sounds way better in Portuguese. It's like, oh, caralho. So good. The power, the joy. Oh. Love you guys so much. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. You can ask. Any comments, any clarifications required? Any things that you feel like you can't be kinky about? Let's reveal how we can get kinky about it. Into wonder. The beauty, like the separation of, oh wow, things are separated. Like, what, this is the only place that exists, that we can be separated from self, like to go into the awe and the wonder of that. It's not so much necessarily like resolving separation, because separation is the illusion. Just become in awe of it. And that's the integration. There's not really anything to do, because the part that wants to do is the masculine in the heart that is worried that something is wrong, and it's trying to mitigate the wrongness by doing something about it. There's nothing to do. You have to go deeper into the gut, into presence. How is it exactly the way it is right now without needing to change anything valuable? Oh my gosh, the wonder, the awe, the simplicity. In the pattern that it can't see it. There's no perspective or distance. Yeah, and unconsciousness itself isn't wrong. Unconsciousness is actually within the context of I am, as all of us gathered together. There are beings who are unconscious as a way for I am to witness the pattern, because the only thing that matters is I am. So whatever is playing out on the little character field is like a video game. I am is the only thing that's actually happening. For example, Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump, I am was like, oh, look, let's look at all of these patterns, like perfect mirror for all of these patterns that are here, right? So it's like forced pattern recognition is so no other person, and I've said this for a long time, no other person in history has been more of a supporter of the light than Hitler, because we are still talking about those patterns that we recognize now because of that unconsciousness. The unconsciousness is just the I am choosing to be so committed to the character to wake up I am. And so when we dissolve the wrongness of unconsciousness, we witness the value of it, which is consciousness.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then we're witnessing, consciousness is recognizing the patterns. So all of it is patterns.
And God consciousness, this is the next step, right? Because this is the year of God mode.
With perfection, I'm curious. Yes.
Creating patterns.
Yes.
So there's recognizing patterns, which is the passive version of consciousness. And then there's creating patterns, which is the active. And that's what I'm doing when we recode. I'm creating new patterns, downloading new patterns. And we can do that. Like that's what we do. And you can create your own patterns, not in a, like I do it more etherically, but we can create those patterns just in our life, right? Through imagination. And that's how we use the refinement of the mind of like, oh, look, these are the things that I could create, you know? And when you start praying to go beyond what you could imagine, that's when you're accessing the fourth layer of our body, which is interpersonal. The mind is still in the personal, but beyond that, is where we can access outside of what's been imagined. And that's where we're creating reality in a completely different way than what most people are aware of. And all of that, we can actually, if that's something that you want, you can pray to receive that. Just be aware that there are initiations that you must go through for each of these levels of experience. And it's not like any of them are better or worse. Like, I still have to like cook, eat, clean, like do all the things, right? It's like normal life, but it just depends on how your tolerance of sensation, essentially. Worried about, I would actually like not even focus on the worry. So next time that comes up, focus on the actual thing rather than the worry. Like what is the thing that you're actually worried about, and look at that and perceive what's wrong about this. Why do I believe that that's wrong? What inside of me is saying that is wrong, and begin to negotiate with that part.
Yeah. That's some of the like,
and especially when you have like complex, quote unquote complex trauma, right? Where trust me, this is like my whole life complex trauma, right? But the complexity of your trauma is not going to be met with all of these complex strategies. It's just going to be something very simple every single moment it comes up. And that's why when I was dealing with my rape trauma or whatever it was that was coming up, like, thank you for showing me that. Thank you for showing me the anxiety that's leaving. I'll give a funny example because it's coming up and I can't believe this memory because I totally forgot about this. I was working at a restaurant in DC in my early 20s, and I just power efficiency, like I was like, I worked at a fine dining restaurant and I was just like party kid, and I took one of my friends Adderalls on an empty stomach, and I think I like took like a double dose on accident or something. Like it was way too much. Or no, I smoked weed and took an Adderall and then went to work. Okay, anyways, look into my life long time ago. And holy shit, the amount of anxiety that was running through my body because my body was just trying to organize all these like freaking chemicals that I was putting in it, produced this experience where I was like, I literally felt like I was gonna pass out. And I was like, I can't go to work like this, and I need to work, whatever. So I went upstairs at my restaurant, and it came to me in the moment, and I was like, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna inhale the word I and exhale the word am. And this was like 2011. And I was just like, literally, I was like, I am. I am. And I just let every inhale suck in the energy of I, and every exhale press out the energy of am. And I just distributed I am throughout my entire being. And the anxiety and worry that was in my field that I could not organize with my mind got organized by my presence with all that I am. And I actually had one of the best shifts in my entire life, probably because I was high on Adderall and weed, but also because I had taught myself in that moment, like it was a superpower. I was like, oh my God, like all I have to do is to come into deep presence with anything and it can be transmuted. Oh my God. So that's literally all it requires.
That's really beautiful. The sentence you said I really resonate with just now is, I couldn't organize it with my mind. And I'm like, oh, I've been trying to organize it with my mind, right? Like using strategies of my mind,
Yep.
to like.
Which is actually where the anxiety is, because it's fragmented.
It's not working. It's like what I keep coming to, right? Like it is not working.
Well, here's the
So
thing, right? So
yeah.
your gut is where consciousness lives, your presence. When you're operating here, you're out of the fracturing from your gut to the mind. The separation between your gut and your mind is literally the sensation of anxiety. Anxiety is the sensation of consciousness leaving the body, and it leaves first up into the heart, and then from the heart into the mind, and then if you go further, things get crazy. So
Mm,
you bring everything down. Like if you're trying to organize in your mind, there's no way that you can mitigate anxiety in the mind, because the mind is where the anxiety is going to live because it's fragmented. And your heart,
mm,
as much as you try the I love you, I love you, I love you, it's actually your mind being like, oh, let me use the I love yous to try and get out of this
right.
experience, which is
Right.
more fucking mind shit looking like it's the heart, when actually
Right.
all you have to do is come into I am presence in your gut and be present with it. Sometimes,
So,
especially like the last week, being
mm,
crazily activated by this class and everything that I'm doing. Um, I haven't probably slept in like 2 weeks. Like I'll just be in
mm,
and out of awakened sleep, and just like I'll wake up and feel like a billion lightning bolts are running through my body. And the only way that I can organize that is by breathing.
mm,
And there's a there's a little, it's called Nirvana-I, and it's a tincture of iboga that I've been microdosing a little bit, or a lot of it. And it literally shows your nervous system, like this plant is a master of the breath. The only thing that it will do is show you where you're not breathing. So if you want help, I'll send that link with the replay. Um, that is a really powerful way to just see where you're not breathing. Because the first time I did it, I was like, oh my God, I have all this anxiety. And I was like, I'm not anxious. This is just showing me where I'm not breathing. And then I just started breathing. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I can breathe through my entire field. So now I'm doing these meditations where I'm just sitting and I'm seeing myself as the whole universe, and I'm just noticing where the energy is kind of gray, and I just start breathing into it, just breathing and expanding and circulating the energy of the entire universal field of all that I am.
mm. Yeah, I notice
I'm doing that in the body too.
I, yeah, sometimes I notice my breath has been shallow, or I hold my breath and blah, blah, blah. And I notice it's because I'm trying to avoid feeling certain symptoms in my body because they
Mhm.
worry me, you know?
Totally.
And it's like a way, so I'm like using breath in a, dysfunctional way to avoid feeling what's in the body,
I
sensations in the
wouldn't
body.
actually say that that's what's happening, because you have to actually go into it to that. When you're doing it somatically like that, I wouldn't think about it that way, because like all it that's actually a principle of orthobionomy, is the correct order and function of biosystems, is to actually increase it. So if there's something like the pain, right? Like if you're pain, like it, like you increase it, like you go further into it, and then the body releases. If you try and resist it and pull it out, the body's going to pull it, because there's the process underway. You want to
Yeah.
amplify the
Yeah.
process to complete it. So if there's like
Mm,
a tightness in my gut when I'm breathing,
mm,
let me breathe, like push into the breath, like move the breath even further into these little restrictions. And and that's not getting rid of it, right? You don't, because that's just more mind stuff. As long as you're like actually moving into the body to like allow and feel, because when you're breathing, all you're really doing is accepting.
yeah.
You want, like, I'm going to do this whole class on twin flames, mirror souls, because the truest twin flame, the truest mirror of I am, is the breath.
Mm,
Wherever you're not breathing is just showing you where ego lives. Ego is just unintegrated stuff of I am. So I am is I am. There's nothing else other than that. But these parts where we're not breathing because we're afraid something's wrong, we're worried and we're waiting, is a part where we're not breathing. And so we just breathe into that space, offer it oxygen, offer it life, offer it I am. And it will feel afraid as it's integrating because it's afraid it is dying, but it's actually just being reborn. So in every breath, we are offering the gift of resurrection to all that feels it is dying.
And so worry doesn't make things more likely to happen or come true, right? Like, tell me that's just kind of that old spiritual conditioning, like that can just be done with. Isn't that, I mean, is that just like old, you know what I mean? Is that just like kind of the old superstition stuff?
Well, here's the again, this is going a little bit into Fuck Spirituality Begin Life, which is next Thursday, but the energy of paradigms, period, is over. There's no paradigm. All of these things of you trying to figure out what's going on, paradigms, not actually integrated. It's inverted. Trying to organize things through the mind with paradigms, even beliefs. Beliefs live in the heart. Trying to organize your beliefs, your heart, your beliefs in your heart can only perceive the patterns that have been perceived from the mind enough times to create a belief in the heart. Presence is that which doesn't have patterns or paradigms. It's just present to what is, and that's why it's powerful, because it can organize everything.
That's good. Yeah.
So
and then one last oh, I'm sorry. One last very quick thing. I'm sorry for taking so much time. I just want to throw this out there. I don't know if anyone else. I've been having a lot of like so-called gut issues like the last couple of weeks, like diarrhea, constipation, like weird little cringy, tweaky pains in my intestines, like all these. I mean, is that just all par for the course right now? Is that like sort of gut stuff coming on board, or clearing things, or I don't know, just ask, is that kind of a thing?
Especially as we are moving into the collapse of identity, which means the collapse of understanding is from the mind into the heart. The collapse of stories is from the heart into the gut. But the collapse of identity is the merging of the mind and the heart into the gut, into pure presence. So the gravity of the collapse of identity means that everything is being sucked into the black hole of pure presence, and anything that is incapable of surviving that, which is going to be all the things that we're talking about, worry, wonder, waiting, and wrongness, are coming into the gut, which means that everything is being reorganized and flipped. So all the inversions are getting flipped right now inside the body, which means that the location of which that is occurring is going to experience a lot of upset. The whole last week and a half, 2 weeks, I've been experiencing crazy digestive stuff, passing multiple tapeworms because all parasitic energies are leaving the gut. Like, everything is a metaphor. The body is a poem. You have to get out of the mind and into the poetry, into the, like, what, I literally passed a parasite and I was like, who was that? And I got the information of like what was being released energetically. And I was like, got it. That makes a lot of sense. And then literally that parasitic energy and who that person was, they literally texted me after that happened. and I haven't talked to this person in a very long time, right? So it's like, we like consciousness feels when things are being cleared out and it tries to reattach. Like, we're not playing that game. So anyways, just funny little stories. But gut, there's a lot of gut and throat right now, and that's because there's a merging. I am the body coming together, and there's a process of integration. And so the gut and the throat are like mirrored objects. Like if you were to fold the energy system in half, you would have the gut and the throat would be kind of in the same place. The root and the crown, root and third eye crown, that's next. Like, which will be an even deeper integration of consciousness. But for now, let's just stay at the gut and let that happen.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, totally. There's like a woman I just the last month, I can't even tell you how many people have come to me with like I had like 3 broken sacrums like in the same week. Like, everything is running in patterns. Like, we think on a personal ego level, we think it's something about us, but it's literally I am breaking through. And when I'm writing my energy updates on what's happening, I'm just observing the patterns and asking what the value is. Oh, why are all of these people getting sick right now? What's going on? Why do they all have the same symptoms? What? And then I'm just, oh, like blah, 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 blah. And it all just makes sense.
Thank you so much.
Totally. But you have to assume that there's value and that there's a reason and that it's perfect for the integration, and totally trusting that life is.
Well, my energy for the last since the beginning of the new year, there's been a ton of integration around acceptance of death, like actually being way more peaceful about, the idea of death or dying, and like much more harmonious feeling about it than freaked out. So that's been huge just this new year. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Barrett. I'll let someone else.
You're welcome. The overlay is like the play of experience. So it's like I imagine, like when I think of like what's happening on the planet, I think of like the globe and it just being like a glove and with all these little fingers, and then like consciousness is like around it and like putting its fingers like in the glove, and then it's just like moving all these little characters around inside the world, like do, 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 like we're all little different things, but it's actually like one energy with its hand in the bag. But the patterns that happen when your breath is broken,
right,
actually the creation of deeper brilliance that brings your breath to the next level of new patterns. So everything is like when you're moving through octaves, right? You're like when you're playing music, the final note of that octave is the next note of the next octave, and those are like your initiation points. And the things that were kind of like the final crescendo moment that may have been painful, that pierce you through to the next level, are the foundation of the next level. So things are only growing in coherency. When you have a crystal, you can see this crystal. The way a crystal grows, it's growing from this direction to that direction. It's the termination point. These are living systems, and they are expressing I am. So this is how we understand fractals. Like, if everything is I am, then you can see the I am in everything. A crystal is growing in this direction, and each little layer as it's growing is a crystalline lattice structure. It's like woven atoms mixed together like this. as it grows, it's learning. And each layer that grows on this crystal becomes more and more coherent. And by the time it gets to the point, it gets extremely clear, but it starts out cloudy. So this is the perfect example of like trial and error in consciousness. They're like, oh, this is good, but look, the next layer, we can do even better. We can do even better. We can do even better. Is any part of this crystal wrong? What is there to worry about? What is there to wait to celebrate? Celebrate the whole thing. That is trauma. Trauma is not something that needs to be like fixed or like it's not breaking anything. Trauma is just the expression of a layer of totality on its way to becoming what it already is. And we experience ourselves through these little cross sections called time.
So with a child or with a newborn coming in, the newborn coming in has a certain, like if you look at like just a 3-year-old's coming in whose ego hasn't fully developed, or there's no differentiation between themselves and the world. They too, though, have a certain within themselves, many patterns that live within themselves. Yes, is that correct?
Well, you could say that there's like energy that they come in with, like a specific pattern, right? And it's like they're a reference point experiencing other reference points to create new points of reference.
I see.
Yeah, so we each have our own, for me, like coming into this life, like I am, like yeah, I am, right? But I'm going to have an experience of how I got to that. We're all having our own experience of how we got to where we already are. That's the joy of this experience. That's the joy of separation. It allows us to have an experience of what would not be able to be experienced. Because what is an experience? You cannot have an experience without perspective. You're like, for example, unconsciousness. Unconsciousness is unaware of the miracle that we are all living because it's so in the thing that it doesn't have perspective. Once you go through trauma and then resolve it and neutralize it, you have perspective. You have like anything is only adding to the quality of your life as long as you receive the quality. And that's how we resolve trauma or memory, because the function of memory is only to remind you of something that you haven't received value from. And you can resolve all traumas by simply receiving the value. And like memories would come up. Like, for example, when I was healing the rape thing, I would have this memory come back. And I'm like, okay, there's obviously, I was like, why is this memory coming back? And then I just heard, because you haven't received the value of it yet. And I was like, oh, that's the value, is that I haven't received the value. Let me begin pulling that value. And every single time I would get like a new little pixel in the image of the value of me being raped. And I just place the whole image together piece by piece, moment by moment. And that's why, like, don't let yourself get overwhelmed by the total vision. Just start with the things that are present in the moment. You don't need to like just organize what's here in the most essential form of your current moment, and just begin there, and it will begin building, and you'll have a greater capacity to move through things, right? And I know that you're already doing that on such an amazing level. So
when we look within ourselves, then you're saying that what I'm wondering is we're looking at the pattern, because once you resolve the rape, obviously then something within yourself, you resolve something within yourself. And so then suddenly you're not attracting this anymore, or a specific pattern anymore on the outside, because you resolve something on the inside. Your pattern then, what happened to that within yourself? What happened to the energetic, the signature within yourself? That's what I'm
Well,
like, what?
it becomes power. It becomes a recognition, a point of like a notch in your belt of like, oh, look what I can do. That self-recognition is what happens. So we have things that happen to us so that we can experience who we are in response to it.
And it becomes more like crystallized. It's like a crystallized. And
Yeah.
so crystallized, though, like not an actual crystal. Like, what does that mean when people say you're crystallized? Like within your, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Well, it's like you're embodied of it. Like it's an everything that you've experienced becomes your transmission. Everything that you've overcome becomes your transmission. So what is your transmission? For me, it's a lot of clearing of sexual trauma, right? So it's like that. I mean, OCD. I mean, there's so many things that I've been through and have resolved. So that is like the power that I express. So all the things that you have moved through, when recognizing yourself for the value of that, is like your transmission. Like even helping the children, right? Like you resolving things as yourself as a child is already transmitting to those children a resolution of like tenacity to be in this world, even though you're not perhaps telling telling the children like what you've been through. You are just energetically providing that.
And when we energetically provide that for our children, then within the child itself, something can actually, the architecture within themselves. I think I need to take your anatomy, the interior design or something like this. Yeah, I think I need to get this, because I'm so curious about the interior design of oneself. And specifically because we can do this for the children, then when we resolve something within ourselves, we're able to really be that and be of service for the children, and they'll recognize it, and maybe perhaps something will activate within themselves. Yeah.
There's
Okay.
also a certain level of, because here's the thing, and this goes into like German New Medicine. A conflict is basically something that you were not prepared for. Because consciousness, when it comes in, especially the new kids that have never been here before, there's a lot of conflicts because you've never experienced life before in this form and function. And so what we're actually doing is providing the new children a template of how to experience life. And that, in the fundamental thing, if we just taught children that nothing is wrong, like that, then they can bring all of their superpowers. But you're actually going to see a large increase of diseased children, because all of these conflicts are going to be causing all kinds of chaos in their body, because they're not being taught that something is wrong, and the distance between who they are and what's here currently is so great that stress will cause fractures in consciousness that will take a long time to heal. So, and actually not a long time to heal, but it'll look like that.
It's so, yeah. When you're saying like there's no bad, nothing's wrong with teaching children, it's when you were speaking, I got so many downloads. And what was interesting was the children, they even have a kink. Like their kink is when they do pretend play, theirs is like, oh, there's bad guys, oh, there's good guys, and it's like it's a kink for them.
Totally.
It's very, but they're not holding the energy of like there's someone bad, It's, yeah, it's interesting.
Consciousness just wants to play as if, right? I always say, like, I love calling it God because I have not been able to ever use that word since I was a kid because I was so turned off by it. But to me, it's just like God is like all of it, right? And like whatever you want to call it. But God to me was shown as like a mathematical thing. It was like infinite positive numbers, infinite negative numbers. And when you combine all of those together, all possibilities in all directions, you get nothing, zero, but you also get all of it. So it's like everything and nothing simultaneously. And that for me is this lifetime, to totally receive the totality and honor it. Honor it as the piece, honor it as the whole, and let the free flow of experience, it's just blooming and emerging all the time. And so these children are going to have their own experience and they're going to develop things in their own ways and they will surpass us. And any spiritual teacher that is not specifically sharing that you should surpass them is not a teacher you should be listening to, because they are creating a hierarchy that is designed to continue a structure that is already dead. The only thing that's happening is life will only continue getting better, which means that I myself am an experience. An experience is something that begins and ends. So if I am continues beyond this form, it's only going to increase. Appreciation of value means to appreciate, to give thanks for value, but also means to appreciate, to inflate. Everyone's worried about inflation. Why are things being inflated right now? Because we're so much more worthy than we've ever been. We have to receive the value of ourselves, right? Anyways, so things are going to get really interesting. The only thing that you need to do is receive value. Stop waiting. Stop worrying. And just receive value now. You guys are awesome. Awesome for withstanding with me, because I am. I am here with you. I am you. And we all get to celebrate this life together. And it's just going to keep getting better and better and better, because just as the children will surpass us, this moment will be surpassed by the next. And since life is only providing value, it can only get better. And what's happening as the world gets crazier and crazier over the next couple of years, it's actually so much beauty, so much radical just value on so many levels coming in, and it's just pressing out of the world all that's incongruent, incompatible to I am. Anyone have anything to share before we close out? All right. I love you guys. Aloha. Aloha ma.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you.